In this video, we're now going to look at how to format our web page using the CSS style sheet main, which is down here. And here we have put in some CSS styling so that we can use the div tags that we put into our HTML file in the last task. So this is the final rendered page, and you'll see it looks quite dramatically different from the previous exercise where everything was just one section after another. So the idea of dividing it up is that we've got a wrapper around the whole page. Here at the top we have our heading div. Here on the left hand side we have navbar, and here on the right hand side we have our content. So how have we managed to format it like this? Well, let's start with the heading up here. So if you look down into our style sheet here, you'll see that we've used this hashtag heading. There it is, and we've set the height of that div to 80 pixels. So this height here is 80 pixels, and we've used this border bottom, and the bottom border here is the red line, and it's solid in red 2 pixels. So for borders, if you want all the borders, you can just write border. If you want the top, you write border top. You can do border right and border left. So that's the heading here. However, we want our H2 tag in here to be dropped down a little bit. Let me just take out this heading 2 here and save it, and then watch what happens there. You can see that prehistoric animals is a little bit high, and what I've done is I've put in, I don't want everything in heading to be padded with this padding top. That means that it puts 20 pixels between the top of the div and the text, just the H2. So I've used hashtag heading H2. So that says all H2s in heading will have this padding. And when I save that and then refresh here, you can watch it's dropped down. Now, what I also wanted was my image here. You can see the image. It's now got height 70 pixels. It's been floated to the left, and I've put a right padding on it so that it just pushed the text a little bit away. Again, you can take the padding out and you will see that the picture, when I save it, is now tight. The text is tight up against the picture, which we don't want, so we've just put a bit of padding in there. The other thing with the image is that you notice that I've moved the image inside the heading tag. So all images inside the heading tag would be floated to the left and would have this here. So what I'm using is this selector hashtag heading and image, so it only applies to the images. You can see then that the image comes before the prehistoric animals text, and it lines up really nicely. So what about this? Well, we've got here our navigation bar, and here we've got our content. Well, we want them in 2 columns. So what we've done is navbar, I've floated it to the left, and I've put the width of 16M. Okay, so that means that I'm going to use this M, which is an old-fashioned speak for padding that they used to put inside typed newspapers when they did the newspaper in blocks. And here I've got the content floated to the right this time with a width of 23. And that means that they now fit in quite nicely. You'll notice these add up to 39. And I'll just talk about the wrapper here. The wrapper, I've done a margin auto, which means that regardless of how big this page is, let me just open it up and you see it stays in the middle. So that's really useful. Remember, the wrapper goes all the way around this, yeah, and I've set the width of that on the page to 40M so that it keeps it at the same size but whatever the width of the page, which is quite neat. So there I've got 40M, and I've put a background light grey colour inside here. and then I've padded it by 10 pixels. Finally, the navbar list looked to me to be a bit scrunched up, so let me just save that and refresh it. You see they all look quite pushed up against each other. They're pushed up too much. So if I put a little bit of padding at the top of each one, when I refresh it, you'll see they're nicely spaced. And again, I've done that with hashtag navbar and then just the list selector, as with the heading and the H2. And so that should now give you enough skills to be able to complete layout 2.